Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to show you how tiny characters in Excel can be used to make formulas versatile. So in today's video I will show you 7 symbols to level up your Excel game, and I'm certain you will like number 3 and number 6 will be a surprise to you, and the very last one we are going to check in is the most versatile one. Now let's get into it. So there are symbols that we need to know in Excel, and many people normally just look at formulas, forgetting that formulas are based on some tiny characters that can make them more useful and more versatile. For instance, if in my table here I've got employee ID, so if you just type 001345, the moment you enter, Excel reads it as a numerical data. So even if you go back, if you check here and go back and enter, still it's the same. So I say 001978, it's the same. And this is now where the apostrophe comes in. So our first formula is apostrophe. And how do you go about that? So you just come here, there is your first, type the apostrophe, then add the figures. So apostrophe, then 001345, you enter. The same we'll do to this, apostrophe 0000978, you enter. So that's how you use apostrophe. The other thing, we can use it to determine the team size. For instance, if I just write my team size is 2 2, if it is 2 to 25, the moment you enter, Excel determines that as a value. So what you need to do is to first have your apostrophe, then you say 2 to 25. When you enter that, Excel now determines it as a range, and you can see here in the formula bar I'm having apostrophe before that range. Now if I want total revenue, I'll just use a sum range, and if I enter, already I got my total revenue. Now to determine the formula used to got, can also use apostrophe, so you can just come to this and copy. Once you copy is okay, so you'll just come here, type apostrophe and paste that formula there. You're done. It will show the formula used in finding your total revenue. Or there is another alternative which you can use, and in this case it is a formula text. So you'll just write formula text, and in this case it's also simple. You just click on where the formula is, then you enter, and you are done. So let's dive into space. Mostly is used to determine errors in a formula. For instance, we know if you are to add all this, it should be coming to certain number. Now if I come here, then say sum. So if I want to sum this, you can have a space, then this intersection. Then when you close the bracket and enter, it's giving me 3. What this 3 means, the intersection of those two. For instance, if I change this to C, see, it's now 2. How you can see the intersection. So that only gives you the intersection of two formulas. So for space, you just do, I'll use sum. If I'm summing this, comma, then I'm having this, can close that. It stands 1 because the intersection of this column and this is just 1. If we change this to 1 more down, it will be 2. So space is just used to confirm accuracy of the formula. Like if I don't want that, I can say sum all. I'll just come and replace all, then I'll get my 24. So that means there is no space in between. The third character we are looking at now is asterisk. Asterisk is used to determine used in so many formulas in Excel. So it's a very useful one. For instance, I want to check how many team members are using Gmail. So scenario 1 is to count the Gmail account. Scenario 2 is to count Paul. I'm using Paul here because you can see I've got Paul at gmail.com. Then I also got Paul Lee at company.com. Now, how do you do that? For this formula, it's basically used in conjunction with a count if function. So this one you must use with count if, and there are two options. So for G, I'll just say count if the range is these emails, and this is where the asterisk comes in. I want to count if gmail.com. You close. What you need to note is that in this it has to be in opening quotes, and when you do that, it's telling you zero. Why? So this is where asterisk comes in. So what you need to do, you just have to add asterisk sign just before, and in this case it returns 4, and that is, you can see Paul at Gmail, in at Gmail, Lou at Gmail, and Kai at Gmail. So that's how we use asterisk sign. So we can also try and see for this one. Scenario 2, we want to count Paul. So if we say plus count if the range, but now the word is Paul. Paul is what we are looking. Any email that has got Paul, then we close. Realize in this case, close that, and close the formula, then Paul. Here it's returning at 0. So what we need to do is to add asterisk before and after. What this tells the formula is that if it is Paul before at Gmail or Paul Lee, then you'll get. If you enter, you now realize that Paul Lee and Paul at Gmail enters. If you just put 1, backspace that, you see we are getting is 0. So you have to tell it that anything that starts with Paul or in Paul before or after is okay. Then we get. Now let's move to our fourth character, which is the question mark. Now how do you use question mark? We still use question mark with count if, and let's see. So you will just say count if. Here is the range. I want to determine the sizes. Then again, opening quotes, and then the question mark, then close the opening quotes, close the formula, enter. This returns 6. You can see I've got here and here. So a question mark returns a single character. If I want to know how many double characters are here, I'll still come and say count if the same range criteria, comma, then opening quotes, question mark, close opening quotes, close the formula. But now if I do that, still return 6, because I want 2 characters here. I will have two question marks. If you enter that, it returns in all that list only those 2 are 2 character sizes. If you want for 3, it's just more or less the same. Count if, you get the range, comma, opening quotes, then 3 question marks, then close the quote, close the formula, you enter. There is also advanced use, but with a combination of another formula which you're going to, and that formula is tilde character. So how do you combine that and use with tilde? Now we've seen how you can count the single ones, but in this case I want to count the question mark itself. Now how will you go about that? If I say count if, and I do highlight the range, comma, if I say question mark and close that, and also close my formula, you see, I only want to know this. You see on these 2, 3, 4, 5, it's only returning this, yet here I've got 12 entries. So if you want that, that's where tilde comes in. So whatever I'm going to do is to just add a tilde sign. So in shift tilde sign, you enter. Then this returns true. Now here I want to know a combination. I've got question mark here, and question mark here, before and after. And let me just delete that first so that you can see what happens if it is after. So if combined question mark with any other letter, this is how you approach it. You say count if, then this is the range, comma, opening quotes. I will say question mark, close the quote, close the formula. If I enter, it returns 4. In this list, there are this one and this and this. So I don't want that. So what I want, the first thing, I'll bring in the tilde formula just as you learned. And if you do that, it gives you a 0. But now we learned that asterisk, if you add it, then it brings for you. So I will put asterisk before and after to see. When I do that, it becomes to 8, and that's now 3. This is 1, 2, 3. So even if I bring another one here after, then they'll come to 4. That's how you use tilde in combination with the other combination, that is the question mark and asterisk sign, to get whatever you're looking for. Now, the dollar sign, I believe this is the most important one, mostly for accountants and any other person who deal with figures. For example, I have got my revenue table here, and I want to do a quick calculation. Now, if I want that, I'll just say it is quantity times the price. So if you enter and apply this with a filler downward, you realize you'll get some values that are not really true. So we'll undo that now. At this point, what you need to do is check. I want to apply this down, so it means my quantities will be changing, but the price remains column D. So what does that mean? We only have to lock the column C, but the rows will continue to change. So how do you lock? We lock, that's where we use a dollar sign, or what we simply use to make it dynamic as per your work. Now, if you use that dollar sign there, then on the side of the price, mind you, we will need this price to move as it changes, but the quantity has to remain the same. So in this case, but as I go down, I only need to lock the number of the row. So in this case, you realize along the row doesn't change, but the columns will change. So in this case, we are only locking 6, not everything. Then you enter. So when you apply this filler down, and you can confirm it speaks 10 by 1000, and again, then apply across to all. You can always check with this last one. If you find quantities of 1016, then you're right, and all is good. Now, the very last one is ampersand sign. This is the most versatile one, and it's a good replacement to concatenate or concat. Those who have ever used this, concat is used to combine text. So text 1, comma, text 2, then you close this formula, you enter, and you can apply to all. But you don't need to do that. What you need to do is just change the formula. What you can say is, this is equals to mark, and we use ampersand to meet the two. You can see. So you just use ampersand in between. Already you have it. That's what you want. And we say ampersand is versatile because, again, we can use ampersand with, and we can have opening quotes, space, opening quotes. Then after those ones, you need to add an ampersand sign. Then you enter. By that, you are having your space in between the words. Or if you need a dot, you just backspace, add the dot there, then you add. It will give you Max dot, Charles dot Lacey, George dot Rush. Still, we can add other figures, like if you want an hyphen in between. So that's how you use an ampersand character in Excel formulas. If you like our video, like this video and subscribe.